Development camp started today, so I'm going to focus the next 45 minutes on develop. I'm joking. Golden Knights finally have Mitch Marner. The least surprising thing that could have happened in the offseason has now happened. That's what this team does. That's how they operate. We've all come to learn how it's going to go. It has gone pretty well for most of the time here. The last selection of moves is starting to now become the main part of the team, and Marner now becomes that. Like Eichel was definitely an addition onto what was already there. I think Hannafin and Hurdle were kind of the next step to see can we start doing that transition? I think Marner's the full transition into this is the new group. This is the new core of players. Eichel, Theodore, Hannafin, Hurdle, Marner. Like that's the new group that is supposed to get the job done moving forward. So when you start to say, okay, this is where we're at, this is what we're looking at, what is it going to look at moving forward? That's the idea. As we start having the Stones and the Carlsons and Smiths and McNabbs starting to taper off, that's where we're at. So I put out a whole bunch of topics. We'll get to all of it. We'll start with that. We'll just start with the actual sign and trade itself. I've had a couple of questions on that in it of itself. Like first off, why? How did it come about? All of this. We'll get to the tampering, all of that. So basically, the long and short of it is the only way to sign a player to an 8-year contract extension is if he's on your team already. So, like Jack Eichel could sign an 8-year extension with the Golden Knights. If Jack Eichel were to make it all the way to free agency without his rights being traded, he cannot sign an extension with anyone, an 8-year extension with anyone else. It's only going to be 7. So, had this lasted another from right now, it would have been 5 hours. So, we're looking at about 7 more hours, 6 or 7 more hours than what it was. Then that 8th year would not have been available. To me, in this particular case, I don't see much value to the Golden Knights in the 8th year unless Mitch Marner was saying, I'm not playing for you unless I get the 8th year. So, in that respect, I don't think it was beneficial for the Golden Knights to give up assets to get the 8th year because I don't think the 8th year is valuable. He's almost certainly not going to be that level of player at that point. It'll be interesting to see where the cap is at. Either way, though, my point stands and has stood for a long time. Long-term deals are not necessarily beneficial to the Golden Knights. The longer the term of the deal, it doesn't really help. And the reason for that is because no one wants to leave. The city sells itself. The tax rate sells itself. The ownership sells itself. The fact that they're in the mix and have been in the mix, maybe that changes if they all of a sudden aren't any good. We'll see. Either way, having the situation where we're now getting the 8th year, to me, doesn't really benefit you. It's certainly not worth Nick Watt. I actually don't think it's a benefit to the Golden Knights at all. Either way, the other concepts of like this whole tampering thing and it's blackmail and all this, we're going to get into a lot more of that in the podcast. I'll give you kind of a quick rundown once I get there. I don't buy a lot of it. I don't think a lot of it makes all that much sense. I don't think that the Golden Knights are going to get hit on this or anything of that sort. Maybe I eat my words down the road. I don't know. I don't think they made this trade to avoid tampering charges. I just don't. I think the reason they made the trade was because they felt the only way that we can get Mitch Marner is we'd have to get rid of somebody else. And this was a way to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't particularly like the fact that Nick Watt and Nick Hague went out for 2 players that are going to come in that are worse than them and make essentially the same, if not a little bit more than what they made. I'll get to the Sissons Lazon stuff in a minute. I want to finish up with Marner. So as far as the sign and trade itself, the deal, the 8x12, I don't have any problem with that. I have no problem with $12 million this season. I certainly don't think we're going to have any problem with $12 million 4, 5, 6 years down the road. I don't have all that big of a concern with that deal. That the number is fine. I don't even believe that it's like gotten too top heavy, which I was a little bit concerned of for a little while. As the cap has started to go up and we've gotten a little bit of more of the information on what it's going to look like in the next few years, I think having the two guys at the top in the 12 range, and I would imagine Eichel will probably come in a little bit, maybe a little bit above that. We will see when that one occurs. That can occur as of tomorrow. I don't think it'll happen tomorrow, but it could, that being Eichel. I don't think that it's like too top heavy. I think the bigger question will be, is this collection of players going to be able to get over the line the same way that the collection of players that we had in the past was. And time will tell on that. I probably should have started off with like Mitch Marner's fucking awesome. There's no two ways around that. Like, no matter what you think about the stuff in the playoffs or whatever Toronto people, it's ridiculous. Like, Mitch Marner's really, really, really good. I think there's a legitimate argument Mitch Marner's better than Jack Eichel. Like, so for people who've been watching the Golden Knights that haven't watched a ton of Mitch Marner, that are saying, they say he's really good, his points are really good, all this is here. How good is this guy? I think he might be better. Like, I think it's like the seventh time the Golden Knights have acquired the best player on the roster. It's pretty unbelievable that that has been the case. Now, will it ever catch up to them? Possibly a story for a different day. We may get into that at some point. But I do think we need to throw it out there. Like, Mitch Marner is a superstar in this league. The guy is almost certainly going to score 80 points. Like, I would be shocked if it's less than 80 points, assuming he plays. Like, point per game seems like a no-brainer for him. In this system, in that system, whatever. He's that good. So, like, when you start talking about 12 million, how does he fit in, all of that stuff, like, the guy's really, really, really good. He's not very old. I think he's 27 or 28, so they're in good shape with how long they've got him and what it's going to look like in the next group. They did get a bit younger, getting another player in that group. They now have 3 of the top 5 picks from the 2015 draft. The only ones they're missing are Connor McDavid. Next year, maybe. I'm joking. They're not going to get Connor McDavid, but that would be fun. And one of the Stromes. I can't remember which Strome it was. I think it's Dylan, but I can't. That's the other one. Might as well go get him. Sounds like fun. Chuck him in the middle. Have all 4 either way. So 8 by 12. No real issues on the actual number. Thanks, Dozer. It is Dylan. I don't have an issue with that. I don't think it like what I had with Eichel, and I know I probably have to eat shit for that one for a while because I didn't particularly like the Eichel deal. I'm not there on this one. I don't think like they've mortgaged too much of the future. They've ruined what it looked. None of that. I don't really feel that. Now, I do think when you take the whole portion of it, when you take every single thing that is going to have happened from where it left off last season when the Golden Knights lost in 5 games and did not score for 127 consecutive minutes on Stuart Skinner. I'll probably be saying that for many years in the future because I think it's significant. Once we get to that, to where we are today, I'm not convinced they're a lot better, if any better. And I love Mitch Marner. I think he's a great player. I think he's really, really good. I don't know that they're going to be that much better than the team last year that won the Pacific Division by pretty decent margin and really didn't have all that much challenge there, and then struggled a bit against Minnesota and then didn't play very well against Edmonton. The team is now different. I understand, and we talked about this on the last one a little bit. Alex Petrangelo probably was not going to be the Alex Petrangelo of 2023. So you got to find a way to do something with it. But when you start to look at what did the team look like last year? What did the team look like? What does the team now look like without Alex Petrangelo, without Nick Hague? And I'm not sitting here saying Nick Hague's a massive loss, and I don't think the Golden Knights should have paid Nick Hague $5.5 million over 6 years. Not saying that. I am saying that when you take out Nick Hague, Nick Waugh, and Alex Petrangelo, and you put in Mitch Marner, Jeremy Lauzon, and Colton Sissons, I don't know you're better. I certainly don't know that you fit more in the mold of what's needed to win playoff games. I think they might be able to do better in certain areas. I think they might be more consistent offensively, but I am highly concerned with the fact that it's now starting to take a lot of the pieces away from the defense. And then behind that, you have a goalie who, in my opinion, is heavily reliant on the defense in front of him. Now, Mitch Marner's an excellent defensive player, but the Golden Knights really don't have that clear pair to play against the high-end players. They don't have that answer when they go on the penalty kill as they have had in the past. So to me, when you look at are they better, It is certainly possible. I am definitely not sitting here and saying I think they're definitely worse. I'm not saying that. I just don't think that when we look at, wow, the team that was in the second round that looked really good and potentially could have gone on a cup run now got Mitch Marner, it's really not that simple, right? It's not just an addition and nothing else changed. It's not like one of the best teams in the league got another $12 million player and didn't have to pay for anything, like other teams have done in the past, like Marchand going to Florida, or I mean, I guess Dallas they got rid of. It's more so like what kind of the Golden Knights did when they got Hannafin and Hurdle. It's like, wow, that team won the cup last year, and now they got Hannafin and Hurdle. They're way better, and they could have been. They never quite came together. In this case, I don't know that Petrangelo going out and the importance that Petrangelo had, losing a center and not, in my opinion, I'm not a big Colton Sissons guy. I think he's a good, I've been heard, I've told he's a great guy. So I'm looking forward to meeting the guy, but I don't think he's a very impactful player, certainly not to the level that I thought Nick Waugh was as a fourth line center. Once he started moving up the lineup into winger spots and into different roles where we're asking more, wasn't really sold on that one. So it's not like I'm saying it's the end of the world to lose Nick Waugh, but I think the replacement is worse by maybe a lot. Like I think it's a significant amount that Colton Sissons is worse. As for defensively, Jeremy Lazan, I'm not even sure is going to be in the lineup. Like I expect them to go out and potentially get another defenseman. I think that's certainly possible. And then I don't know where they go from there. I don't know who fits in. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think Jeremy Lazan is like an automatic. And even if he is, a third pair of Jeremy Lazan and Caden Korzak or Jeremy Lazan and Zach Whitecloud isn't what it used to be. It's not Nick Hague, Zach Whitecloud when they were at their best. It's closer to what it was a little while ago when it wasn't as good, right? Like Hague and Whitecloud weren't as good the last couple of years, and that's because the pairing isn't at that level. So to me, that concerns me. That is an issue because the main thing is that this team was built on defending. And when they defended at the highest level, Aiden Hill and his $6 million contract behind them played like a $6 million goalie. If they did not defend in front of Aiden Hill, he plays like a $3 million, $2 million, $1 million goalie. That's what we have seen. So to change the team and go for a little bit more of an offensive minded group and kind of take away from some of your defense, especially defensive defense, meaning Petrangelo's not there, Martinez isn't there anymore. Hague actually was better in that respect than offensively, even though that's not what we expected when they first drafted him. I think that is a bit of an issue. Then the other on the flip side is the one that I guess this one I wouldn't call like a I don't know what I would call it. It is a concern, but it's also more like I'm curious, right? Like I don't know how this is going to go because you have your three best forwards, which are now Eichel, Marner, Stone. Put them in whatever order you want. I would probably still go Eichel, Marner, Stone, but I think there's a fair argument to say it's Marner, Eichel, Stone. Either way, however you want to do it. None of them are goal scorers. None of them are, I don't believe any of them have ever hit 40 goals. I'm actually pretty certain of that. None of them score at a high rate consistently. None of them score all that much in the playoffs. Like Mark Stone's definitely the leading scorer of those three in the playoffs, which is quite surprising. If you run this stat before, I'll say it again on here. In the last 29 playoff games that Mitch Marner has played, he has 4 goals in 29 playoff games. That's constantly brought up by Toronto people. He doesn't score goals in the playoffs. He does score points. For Vegas, in the last 29 playoff games that Jack Eichel has played, he has 4 goals. Nick Waugh actually has more goals since 2020 in the playoffs than Mitch Marner. Do I think that's a reason to not buy Mitch Marner? I do not. I do not. But what I am saying is that now the roster is built in a way that you don't have the true goal scorer to finish off all of these opportunities. So now, however it mixes, and I can go into that a little bit, I assume you're going to get Eichel with Marner, and then it probably will be Barbashev on the other side of that, and then Carlson with Stone. Well, Carlson and Stone aren't going to do the scoring. Smith goes on the other wing there almost certainly. I guess they could try Pavel. Not sure that even works because that's probably going to be a fairly decent defensive line. I don't know who scores there. Barbashev scored quite a bit on Eichel's side with Stone, so maybe Barbashev can do it again, but then he got hurt, came back, and he didn't, right? So you're going to get 80 points out of Mitch Marner. You're going to get 80 points out of Jack Eichel, but who's scoring all these goals? And are they stepping like that? I know they're going to get their points. So I know the goals are going to have to come. I just don't know where it's going to come from. And like the idea is like, well, Pavel will get 75 goals. Like that's not going to happen. Right. So that's where I'm just interested to see how that goes. That's what's fun is that we're going to get to see how does this look? How does it all work together? Does Mitch fit better with Hurdle? Does Mitch fit better with Carlson? Whatever. Like it's interesting. Right. So that's what's fun about that. I don't think usually when they buy a new player like this, I feel like we have a ton of different options. I don't think the options are as wide this time. Like I think it's pretty clear that of your three centers, you're sticking Marner and Stone with two of them, and then the leftover. Historically, it's been Carlson. I wonder if it will be Eichel. I don't know. I would imagine you're going to have Eichel with either Stone or Marner to make a true first line. My guess would be they will start it with Marner, and that would be the plan. And then below them, I would assume it's Carlson with Stone. Cassidy's talked a lot about that, wanting to do that. Issue there is they're both getting up there in age. They both had injury concerns. And we're sitting here right now looking at the forward group saying, oh, great, on June 30th at 4 o'clock, that looks like a hell of a forward group. But the games have to be won almost exactly 11 months from right now. Like they have to win games in late May and early June. Like, can we get to that point? That's a question. Marner plays a lot of games, not usually injured. Eichel typically does get injured. Stone almost always gets injured. Carlson is now starting to get injured. Theodore has gotten injured a number of different times. Hurdle is almost always injured. Now bringing Saad and Smith back. Both of them have had history with injuries. Colton Sissons missed the back month of the season last year with an injury that happened in Vegas. Jeremy Lauzon missed the entirety of 2025. He was injured on the last day of 2024. So that part of it has to come into play. I just was on a radio show, and if you find the tweet that Jason Greger sent out, I will say this exact same quote again that he quoted me on there. The Golden Knights are a different team today than they were before. Are they better? I don't know. Like they're different. They're going to play a different style. They're going to look different. There's going to be different matchup issues and matchup concerns, and there's things that go well and things that don't. The power play changes it a little bit, and I'll get to this one real quick. Thanks for the super chat from Harrison there. How's Marner on special teams? He plays them both. He has historically been very good at both. I don't know what amount they want to use him on the penalty kill. I think it's important that the Golden Knights take a step back from using all of their best players on both special teams. I think it hurts the depth of your roster. I think it makes it awfully difficult for all these players to get into the game. I think it hurts you in a big way come postseason time. And I think Edmonton's a great example of it. One of the big reasons that they've made back-to-back finals and had chances to win back-to-back cups failed, LOL. But why that has occurred, I think, is because their penalty kill has been able to get the job done, and immediately Draisaitl comes out with McDavid, or at the very least, Draisaitl's coming out with other players that can get the job done. Hyman, Kane, Nugent Hopkins, whoever, right? Bouchard, different players that can do it. With the Golden Knights, Stone, Eichel, Carlson, Marner, Petrangelo for the time. Like they were all penalty killers. They all were out there on the penalty kill. So then we'd flip it around, and now it's like, all right, well, now we've got an opportunity, and you end up with a group that like Barbashev, Hurdle, and whoever, right? Like it wasn't Pavel. It's not like striking fear with the other team the same way that it can with some of these teams that have elite penalty killers down the line. Now, Colton Sissons potentially can penalty kill. Maybe he's better than Nick Watt at penalty killing. I think that is possible. But I don't know that that's where we look at it and say, are they actually going to go with Colton Sissons when they just traded an asset and brought in paid $12 million to bring in Mitch Marner? Are they going to want to go with the guy that's better? Because that's what's ended up happening. That's where we've ended up. is Eichel is better at penalty killing than everyone else except for Carlson and Smith. Smith coming back is huge in the penalty kill because he offers that. You get him out there, you get 35, 40 seconds out of him. That kills off a portion of it. Love that. That move, great. Absolutely love that. That's why I don't particularly like the Saad move. Either way, that's the part where, all right, well, then Eichel's better. I think Marner might end up falling into that category as well, right? Like Marner might end up being better, in which case, even though Howden can do it, Kolazar can do it, Sissons can do it, Saad can do it, they're not going to use those guys because these guys are better. And I think that hurts you on the back end of it. So that's a part where, yes, I think Mitch Marner can penalty kill. I think he will be good in a penalty kill system that the Golden Knights run. I would rather see him not do a ton of it. If you need it, fine. I would rather not see him do a ton of it. Let's get to the tampering. So the tampering is kind of the big news. Here's the thing. Here's the way that I view it. Here's what I think frustrates the other teams, because I think the Golden Knights have done this twice now with two big-time free agents. Basically, the two big free agents that they've gone after, they've done almost the exact same thing. That's Petrangelo back in, I guess it was like October or something. I don't know. The 2020 year was weird. Thing got canceled. We played the playoffs out. Then free agency happened, and then the season started like in January in 2021. No other, whatever. Somewhere along the lines, whatever the equivalent of July 1st was for Petrangelo, kind of the same concept happened. You're now hearing about the Golden Knights had conversations about buying Mitch Marner last year at the draft, last year at the trade deadline, last year at different times. And inevitably, what I think happened in those cases is they said, we want the contract extension. So we want to talk to the player. I think what teams are saying is like maybe the Golden Knights were not operating in good faith actually wanting to do that deal. Instead, they were just presenting something, wanting to open the door to get the transaction to say, we want to speak to the player, speaking to that player, presenting a case, saying, this is what we want to offer. Player says, yeah, that's something I would be interested in. And then just sticking it in their back pocket and waiting until the player's actually available 12 months later. There were discussions about Alex Petrangelo being traded to the Golden Knights 12 months or so before it actually happened. There were discussions of Mitch Marner being traded to the Golden Knights. Are they actually tampering? They're on the line. They're certainly on the line. Do I think they will get dinged for it? I do not. I do not think the NHL will do anything. I do not think that the Nick Waugh trade and giving it and making a sign and trade changes it. I don't think that. I think if they had waited till tomorrow and made this same deal and made it 7 years at 12 and a half or whatever, I don't think there would have been tampering charges. I do think they're utilizing and doing a thing that they've done a lot of, which is bending the rules and taking advantage of certain things inside of the rules. That's my feel for it. Do I think it's tampering? It's on the line. If teams were doing it with Golden Knights players and then they walk out, you would be frustrated too. So I understand it. Do I think they get fined? I do not. Do I think they lose draft picks or there are suspensions or they drop the? I don't think any of that, right? So I'm not that concerned about it. Do I think there's a chance that they find a way to say, we're not allowing this anymore? Yeah, definitely think that's possible. If you look at the new CBA, basically every single change that's in the CBA is things that the Golden Knights have kind of bent the rules on and find ways to get around. Paper transactions, double retained salary. There's a couple of other things that are in there, like LTIR is certainly in there, using the playoff roster being over, like all of that, right? And it's like, once the rules get changed and everyone says that was breaking the rule, is it inside the lines, outside the lines? Like, I don't know, right? I just don't know. So that's where everyone's going to have their own opinion on that. That's kind of the way I see it. Do I think the Golden Knights have had negotiations with Mitch Marner prior to them getting this deal done today? Absolutely. I don't see any way that they make the sign and trade and then it's done and here we are. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So to me, they probably in some way had conversations with the other team's player. Did Toronto offer them the opportunity to do that? At some point, probably yes. Probably yes. So because of that, I understand where Toronto's saying, wait a minute. I understand where St. Louis is saying, wait a minute. Where I understand where Vegas is saying, you told us we can talk to the player. So in that respect, are they tampering? Are they not? I don't know. One thing I will say, and this is just a PSA to Golden Knights fans, stop using the term blackmail. Stop saying Toronto's trying to blackmail us. This is ridiculous. You're just trying to blackmail us. Like, stop saying that. Here's why you should stop saying that. The only way that you can be blackmailed is if you've done something unsavory enough that you, or embarrassing enough that others can show that you're being blackmailed. The only way to blackmail someone is if you have somebody, if you have some dirt, something to say, hey, world, look, I'm going to show you this. And guess what? If you don't do what I want to do, you're going to get this unsavory information out there. Like, okay, so for Golden Knights fans to say we're being blackmailed, you are admitting right there, almost knocked my phone off the thing, that they've done something unsavory or illegal or something they should not have done. Don't use it. Just, it's not good. You say we've been blackmailed, you're admitting that something has gone wrong, right? So that's why I'm saying no, none of that's true. Maybe it is true. I don't know. I just don't use that phrase because it's admitting guilt. And that's not smart, right? That's where I'm at on that. Okay, so to the other trade. The other trade is Nick Hague. Well, let me touch on Nick Waugh real quick. In short, it's another example of the Golden Knights giving up an asset for essentially nothing. I don't understand how Nick Waugh is not worth more than 6 hours of negotiating rights and an eighth year that you don't even really want on Mitch Marner. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Okay. So that's where I'm at on that one. I thought he was worth more than that. He's a fourth line, potentially third line center that can play wing, that can kill penalties, that has scored 40 or 30 plus points in 4 consecutive years. He has scored goals in the playoffs. He scored a game-winning goal in a conference final in Montreal multiple years ago. I just thought there was more value to Nick Waugh than historically when you trade rights, because Toronto's getting nothing, right? Toronto is getting nothing out of any of this, right? Like, they're about to lose Mitch Marner for absolutely nothing. If the Golden Knights sit on their hands, do nothing, Mitch Marner gets a 7-year deal with the Golden Knights, and Toronto gets dick, right? They get absolutely nothing. So to me, that should be a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick, nothing of true significance. And historically, if you look at the Gensel trade, there are a few in the past, they're usually not the level of a player of Nick Waugh. Now, you could say it's a salary dump, but that, to me, that's stupid. It's not a salary dump, because instead, don't buy Colton Sissons, don't buy Brandon Saad, and now you can keep Nick Waugh, who's better and younger than both of them. So to me, I don't understand why it was Nick Waugh in that deal. Does not make a lot of sense to me. That's all I'll say on that one. The other one, Nick Hague. The value of Nick Hague, that one we're going to have to kind of wait and see what you end up getting out of Lauzon and out of Sissons. I think Colton Sissons is a replacement level player. I think Colton Sissons is a player that you can use Jonas Rönnbjerg or Tanner Lazinski, or in if you want to go with names in the Golden Knights past, Daniel Carr, who was the AHL MVP. They're all different players. They're all do things differently. Colton Sissons is better at this. Brandon Peary is better at this. Daniel Carr. You see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is the amount of money that was there, and then to trade a 3rd-round pick and link draft capital to Colton Sissons for winning 2 playoff game series. Colton Sissons will have very little to do with whether the Golden Knights win 2 playoff series or not. He won't. Usually when you make that deal, it's like, well, if that guy goes on to be the main reason you win the Stanley Cup, we want more. And everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. If Brad Marchand scores 7 goals in the Stanley Cup final or whatever the hell it was, we want an extra pick. All right, yeah. If he scores 7 goals in the Stanley Cup, I think it was 6. If he scores all that in the Stanley Cup final, yeah, we'll give you whatever the fuck you want. Like, that shouldn't be attached to Colton Sissons. This is a guy who's going to play 9 minutes a game, 10 minutes a game. As a 4th-line center, maybe a penalty killer, probably not going to score. He scored 30 points in his career 3 times in 11 seasons. Nick Waugh's done it 4 times in the last 4 seasons. And he doesn't really offer all that much, other than the fact that he's well regarded as a very good guy. Like having those guys. That's fun. Nick Waugh was also a very good guy. So I like having a lot of that. He has never cross-checked a guy in the face in the playoff game when he was trying to get the puck and got suspended. Actually, he didn't get suspended. Fine. That's never happened. So Colton Sissons has that going for him. But to me, Colton Sissons is not Nick Waugh. He's just not. It's not as good. Like, if Colton Sissons was on the Golden Knights roster last season, I don't think he would have played in the playoffs. Maybe the very last game when Cole Schwindt got in there, maybe Colton Sissons goes in there. I would even argue I'd prefer Cole Schwindt because there's upside. There's no upside to Colton Sissons. That's why I didn't love the Brandon Saad move. There's no upside. You're not getting something new and exciting out of that. Maybe Raphael Lavoie offers upside. We don't know. We haven't seen a lot of them. Maybe Tanner Lazinski's given 13 minutes a night 15 nights in a row or 15 games in a row, and it goes better. You're not getting that out of Colton Sissons. You're going to play him 80 games. He's going to get you 25 points and 8 goals, 10. Great situation. He gets 13. Great. Then it comes to playoff time. Now he's going to go down 9 minutes a game, not going to score at all. And your dream is that he gets the pass from Brett Howden off the boards, or he makes the pass and like Tanner Pearson did. But to me, Tanner Pearson is better, or at least a better option than Colton Sissons, and was half the price. Even before the deal, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that deal in and of itself, and sorry to Colton Sissons if he's watching this, I apologize in advance. I would have preferred to not have Colton Sissons and have the cap space as opposed to having him. Maybe he will prove me wrong. Maybe the Golden Knights see some sort of diamond in the rough in the 31-year-old who's soon to be 32. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Jeremy Lauzon, a little bit different. Jeremy Lauzon's bounced around. Jeremy Lauzon played for Bruce Cassidy. He was young at the time. Cassidy was kind of hot and cold on him. He's not going to use young guys. We know that. Now he's a lot older. He's a lot more experienced. He'll be more willing to use him. It's very possible Cassidy said, I see something in this guy. I think he fits. Okay. Move. He hasn't had a great career to this point. He's really been bottom pair guy, lots of hits, lots of those like intangible shit, right? I do think it's possible in a system that fits. Maybe he fits in this system better. Maybe he gets a full season under his belt. I think it's possible he has a little bit more of an impact. More than likely, though, I would guess come postseason time, Jeremy Lauzon will not be in the Golden Knights lineup. So to me, trading Nick Hague for a replacement player and a guy I project to not be in the lineup, not great value. To me, they kind of gave away Nick Hague as if he were an unrestricted free agent as opposed to a restricted free agent. I don't think the Golden Knights should have paid Nick Hague $5.5 million. I don't think in the Golden Knights system, with this coach, with the way that they were going, I don't think that he would have fit there. I think it's an overpay for Nashville. I do understand where they're coming from. I do think it's possible that in Nick Hague's future, he will play at a $5.5 million level. I do think that's possible elsewhere, not here. Don't think the Golden Knights should have ever made that move. I wouldn't have been like losing my mind, similar to Saad. Like it wouldn't have been the end of the world to me, but I do think it would have been an overpay if they got it. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that the return was literally players that you could have bought on the free agent market the next day, and you could have gotten something else different. Like, I don't understand why the return is two players who are at the very best fourth line and third pair. Like at your absolute peak, you got your 11th best forward and your 6th best defenseman. And more than likely, I think you got your 12th best forward and your 7th best defenseman. Like, feel like the value of Nick Waugh and Nick Hague combined should have been closer to like throw a pick in and now we get Rasmus Anderson, right? Like, so I'll transition into that one. Like, that's more of what I thought. So I think the return is underwhelming. And usually I would say, like, okay, but that allows opportunities for players underneath to step forward and get those roles. They don't have those players. Trevor Connolly's exciting. Trevor Connolly looks good. So we'll see. I don't think Trevor Connolly's going to be ready to play this season. So we'll see that. Rasmus Anderson. So the news and notes on Rasmus Anderson, I believe mostly out of Pierre LeBrun from The Athletic, is basically he's saying, I want to go to Vegas, which is nice. Thanks, Rasmus Anderson. Every player should want to say that. I don't think they all say it as outright as they do. Every human being on the planet should want to live in Vegas. It's better than wherever you live. I can confirm that because I've been a lot of different places. I've lived in a number of different places. This place is better. So, everyone who plays in the NHL that makes a ton of money, and I'm not a millionaire. It's even better to live here if you make $100 million. Like, it's fucking amazing. So, to me, every NHL player wants to live here. Doesn't even necessarily have to do with the organization. City's better. Our city is better than everyone else. Plain and simple. So, Rasmus Anderson says that. I don't see a way the Golden Knights make this work now. It would have to take Barbashev plus. And that's just getting him off the roster. That's not even getting value for another player. And then you put in Rasmus Anderson. I like Rasmus Anderson. I'm not sure Rasmus Anderson is a Petrangelo replacement, a Petrangelo at his peak replacement. I think Rasmus Anderson is very good. I think there's an argument that he would be the best defenseman on this team. I don't think he's the true replacement for Petrangelo. So in the event that that does come true, I think that the spot we're in, similar to what I didn't like with Eichel, and that ended up being wrong. So maybe I'll be wrong again, but I don't think they're in a position to make that move now that they have the LTIR space chewed up from Petrangelo and Mitch Marner's on the roster. I just don't think it makes sense. You're going to have to give up even more, and away we go with another trade where we're probably giving up even more assets aside from cap dumps. I think it just makes the team thinner. Don't really think it makes sense. Also, I'd rather run out the defense that is here and figure it out, right? Like, I think it's better off. Well, yeah, okay, so you could do cap retention, but they just had to pay a third round pick with salary or with playoff conditions on it to get Colton Sissons. What do you think it's going to be for Rasmus Anderson in the division? A lot. Like, see ya, Trevor Connolly. Goodbye, East Wozniak. Like, what? Why? To me, it's early. It's just early to do that. Plus, the player says, I want to play in Vegas. Don't trade for that player. Just wait. The clock will tick. The time will go away. Sign Rasmus Anderson next year. Figure it out next year when we have a better understanding of what is there. They have a number of different guys that are going to be on expiring contracts. Saad, Smith, Lazan, Sissons, just to name a few. Get rid of all of those guys and buy Rasmus Anderson on the free market. You don't have to give up assets and you get him. He said he wants to play here. Why trade for that player? That's where I'm at on that. If a guy really wants to play here, let him come play here when the time is right. Hello, Alex Petrangelo. Hello, sort of, Mitch Marner. Would have been nice if they just waited 6 hours and done it tomorrow. Either way, that's where I'm at. Or, yeah, and like this can make a little bit of sense too. Or wait till they're shit. At the deadline, you give them scraps. They save all the money. They save all the cap space because it's only 20 games. All these teams don't need it. And then you get them at the deadline. That makes a little bit more sense. Doing it now doesn't really make sense to me. I don't think it's going to happen now. On Petrangelo. So I have multiple sources that are telling me the same thing that everyone else has been saying. I've been saying it on these. I don't think I sent out an actual tweet because it's all been kind of wishy-washy to me. I think it's becoming less wishy-washy, and I think buying Mitch Marner really makes it less wishy-washy. I think that what was said at the press conference was garbage. I don't think that that was true at all. They did not need the next few days to figure out what was going on with Alex Petrangelo. He's probably done. He's not playing this year. Oh, like that's like less than 1% he plays at all this year. Again, I've said this before. Don't get your hopes up that he's going to do the WWE meme where he takes off the thing and walks out of the cast and now is healthy, or the one where the Undertaker sits up. It's not going to be any of those. He's not playing this year. He's not going to play in the playoffs. He's not going to play in the regular season. Like, it's not happening. So next year, we'll see. The report recently from Pagnotta was basically that he's getting the surgeries. I guess if that goes well, I don't know. You have to be committed to rehab to want to play again after you get the surgeries. It's also possible they do a different surgery that is more towards living life as opposed to playing hockey. We don't know all of that. One thing I will tell you is that historically, Alex Petrangelo is one that will then come out and tell us. Like, there's been a lot of confusion about Alex Petrangelo at different times. When he was going from St. Louis to Vegas, there was a lot of confusion about what was going to happen there. The situation that went on with his daughter, and he was undisclosed, or like an undisclosed absence for a little while. We got more. He came out and told us all about that. He came out and told us all about not wanting to leave St. Louis, and then how that came. 2 years ago, I think it was, he had the appendix situation, and he told us all about that. Like, I think eventually, and I don't expect it to be in that long. I think Alex Petrangelo is just going to step behind the podium and tell everything that's going on. So I think we're actually going to get pretty good information about that. And it sucks. Like, it's sad. If that's how Alex Petrangelo's career ends, that sucks. So I'm hoping he's able to play again. I don't know that that's realistic. As far as like what goes on with the LTIR, I would assume the Golden Knights will just eat it for now and the next year. I guess it's possible they could look to move it if they have a way to get back under the cap and accrue cap space. What does that cost? I don't know. Time will tell on that one. But I do think like the Marner deal is now done. Writing's on the wall. The writing's been on the wall, but the writing's really on the wall now. He's not playing. Like, he's not playing this year. He's not going to play in the playoffs, and that sucks. Like, it would have been nice to have seen him go out in a better way. I hate the forced retirement thing, and that's another example of that. So that's disappointing, and that sucks that that's how that goes down. The rules, basically, that's kind of how it's supposed to go, I guess. I think that's going to change in the next CBA. I think the Marchand deal kind of is another example. Like, he's probably going to be on LTIR in the last couple of years of the deal. Like, it's stupid. That's not how this should work. That's not in the spirit of the game, or whatever you want to call it. Either way, we'll move past that. I've had a couple people ask me about Joe Veleno. So Joe Veleno he was actually the draft pick that the Golden Knights draft pick when they traded for Tomas Tatar. Detroit selected Joe Veleno. He's played a couple of years in the NHL. He's kind of bounced around the last few years with Seattle, Chicago. He ended up, or I guess it was Detroit, Chicago, and then he went to Seattle. I feel like there's another one in there that I'm forgetting. Either way, he just went to Seattle. He was then cut. Contract buyout. He's now available. I wouldn't mind Joe Veleno. I think Joe Veleno would be good. I don't know that Joe Veleno is going to make a huge difference. I don't think Joe Veleno is going to be the type of guy that's going to come in and light the world on fire, but having those types of players would be nice. If Joe Veleno wants to come play here, I think that would probably be good. All right, so a couple of other things. Backup goalie. I do still expect the Golden Knights to go out and buy another goalie. I would assume it will be under the value of the AHL send down. So if that player is not as good as Schmid or whatever happens, I think they'll have three goalies, two that are in the NHL. Hill's the starter. Backup that's either Schmid or the new guy. Other guy is either AHL, or the AHL would be either Schmid or the new guy. No buried cap space, no lost amount if that player's up. I would assume it'll be somewhere near the minimum or slightly above. They have a little bit of room to work with. From what I understand, I believe it's 20 players, either 19 or 20, and they're $2 million under the cap with Petrangelo on LTIR. There's a little bit of space to do things, but also you want some room to do some things as the season goes on. So we will see. I do expect it to be someone. I also expect the name to come across and everyone to say, ugh. Like, that's kind of the type of goalie you're going to get. Look at the market. It's bad. It's not good. So I don't expect much on that. I have no information on Shabanov. I have gotten my hopes up on Russian players coming from the KHL before. I'm not going to do it this time. I will just stand here and say, I understand how many goals he scored. I understand how success he had in the KHL. I would assume he will stink in the NHL because that's kind of how it has gone. I view the KHL as below the AHL at this point. So yeah, great. You're the MVP of the KHL. Most of those guys don't work. Same thing with Kuznetsov. I have no interest in Evgeny Kuznetsov at this part in his career. What else is to come? So I think they're going to sign another defenseman. I think they're probably going to sign another forward. I think they're going to sign a goalie. If any of those levels doesn't happen, it won't surprise me. If any of those levels do happen, it won't surprise me. I don't think this is like, that's it. I don't expect another big name. I think their big portion of this is done. The only other piece is the last thing that I want to talk about, and that's Eichel. So the deal is done. $8 million, 8 years, $12 million for Mitch Marner. I think Jack Eichel has to make more. I just think that's kind of just how you have to go about it. The same thing kind of happened with Theodore and Hannafin. Hannafin gets his deal. Theodore's up a little bit longer. You have to give him slightly more. I don't think it's going to be a lot more. I would imagine somewhere in the 12 to 13 range, slightly more than 12. I have zero concern that Jack Eichel will not be a Golden Knight for the next at least 4 years, 5 years. Like, the reason I only say 4 or 5, as opposed to I expect him to sign a 7 or 8 year deal, probably 8. The only reason I say that they will not do he won't be here for that is because if things don't go well, that's what they do. They get rid of players, they move on. So that's where I'm at on that one. I would assume they will get this done this summer. I don't think they want to go into next season dealing with it. For those of you who don't understand how it works or are new or whatever, no matter when the Jack Eichel contract is signed, it will not affect this year's salary cap. It will start next year's salary cap because that's when the extension actually happens. He has one more year at $10 million this season. That's what's going to be on the cap this season. Next season is when it will start. Then it will kick in at that point. But I don't think they want to go through the entirety of this season dealing with him on a long-term contract. I don't think he wants to answer questions about it all year. I assume this will get done. There's no reason the Golden Knights would not want to keep him. They will want to keep him. They will keep him. He will not sign anywhere else. He will not do what other free agents have done, like Mitch Marner, and hold it over the team and then leave. None of that's going to happen. The Golden Knights are going to keep Jack Eichel. He will be here for a long time. He will sign a deal that is not overly ridiculous. It will all be fine. When that happens, I don't think it matters. Like, don't think it makes any difference at all. If it happens tomorrow, great. If it happens in a month, great. If it happens in 5 months, great. Once we start getting into anything beyond January 1st, then we start getting question marks. The 8 year thing is interesting because if they do decide to go 8 years on Eichel, it will be pushing into the portion of when the data said that Jonathan Marchessault wasn't good enough to sign there. So they're going to have to go against their stack of data. I think they would prefer to not do 8 years. They should not do 8 years if Jack Eichel's willing to not do 8 years, because like I said, no one's going to leave. No one who has been here for a while is going to leave because no one who lives in Vegas wants to leave Vegas because it's better than anywhere else they're going to go. So, in my opinion, if you could sign him to a 3 year deal, 1 year deal, 2 year deal, that's great because he's just going to keep signing them. Riley Smith is going to sign 1 year deals until the Golden Knights don't want to sign 1 year deals again. That's why they can buy unrestricted free agents to be, have them for 30 games, 20 games, 15 games, whatever, and be like, well, they're definitely going to stay. If the Golden Knights wanted to keep Anthony Mantha, they would have. If they would have wanted to keep Teddy Bluger, they would have. They wanted to keep Phil Kessel, they would have. When they decide we don't want you anymore, then the player goes away. It's never the other way around. There's only one player I can ever remember that's kind of asked out of here, and that was Brad Hunt, and that's because he wasn't playing. And he had a contract coming up, and he knew they're not going to keep me. I got to find a way to get a playing time. It's the only one we've ever really had in 8 seasons. This will be our 9th. So that's all I'm at on that one. Thompson, kind of similar, but even Thompson, he understood that he was going to be the backup. So yeah, I guess that one is kind of similar. He wanted to go because he knew he needed to play. He didn't want to leave Vegas. I know that. That's for sure. But like, it's similar. No one has left and said, I want out because I don't like Las Vegas, like they will with Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa. I just named all the Canadian teams. Like they will, I'll name some teams in America. Detroit would be a good one that you want to get out of. Carolina doesn't have very good facilities. Maybe you want to get out of there. Columbus seems like a place with nothing to do. I've actually never been there, so that's probably mean to me. Either way, Shipachyov did not want out of here. The Golden Knights wanted Shipachyov out of here. That's all I'll say about that. He wanted to play in the NHL. The Golden Knights said, you're not good enough to play in the NHL, and then made his life a living hell for a little while, and then he had to retire. Like, that's where we're at on that. Yeah, maybe Seattle. People want out of Seattle because Seattle sucks. Like, it rains all the time. You have to be sad. We have sun all the time. I might go hit golf balls after this. It's June 30th and it's a little hot, but it's great. It's sunny all the time. City is fantastic. It's cheap. So much to do. Everything's great. We got sports. We got all of it. That is all I have for today. I will probably be back tomorrow. We will see. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. If they do a lot, we'll come back on here. We are probably going to have a McCrimmon press conference. Maybe we'll get a little bit more information about that. I would assume maybe Marner will talk at some point. I don't know when he gets here. Wouldn't shock me if he's been here the whole time. Tampering? No, I'm just joking. But I don't know when we're going to get to talk to him. We'll see that. We could start doing a little bit of maybe how the lines are going to work and all that. But we've got a lot of time before the next game. I'm looking forward to the schedule. That would be nice. But yeah, that's all I got for tonight. Thanks for watching this one. Sorry it went a little bit long. Crazy. The Golden Knights keep doing it. When the shiny toy becomes available, the Golden Knights do everything in their power to buy them. It's worked. Will it keep working? Time will tell. We will see. That's all we got. That's it. Good night.